Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to sew linen pants out of an old sheet. I say linen because mine are going to be cotton, but they have the same look as linen. To start, you're going to need an old sheet, and then I use 2-inch elastic because I like how that looks. Mine's just from Walmart. And then fabric scissors, a sewing machine, and then a paper clip. You're also going to need a pair of pants that you love to trace. You're going to fold the pants that you're using to trace in half. Leave enough for a 1-inch seam allowance on the side, and leave enough for 2-inch seam allowance. And I'm going to do about 5 inches on the top of a seam allowance just because it's way easier to take it in more than it is to add extra, and we're going to be folding it over for the elastic, so we're going to need a lot of extra space right there. Okay, I forgot the most important step. You're going to want to cut up straight here because it's going to take it in. So I did mess up right now, but I'm just going to take it out even a little bit just so that it's able to get up over your hips. So now you're going to cut out 3 more legs, and then you're going to cut out 1 more, tracing over this direction, the exact same direction we just cut out the pants. And then the next 2 you're going to cut out with it flipped over this direction. So 2 with this way and 1 with the right side up. So right here we have all the pieces cut out. These are the first 2 pants. So we're gonna do the first sewing part. And for the first sewing part, we're gonna sew along this crotch. So I'm gonna put the right sides together, which is the more prominent part of the fabric. Whichever side you wanna be on the outside, basically, is gonna go on the inside. Mine's not lining up very well. Once you have that lined up, you're gonna take it to your sewing machine and do the 1-inch seam allowance, and you're gonna sew right along this part, right to the tip there, and then all the way up. Also, if you want, you can pin right there before you sew it, but personally, it takes too much time, in my opinion. And make sure you back stitch. I'm just doing a straight stitch for this. So then when you take that off of the sewing machine, it should look just like that. Okay? Now do that with the other side. Okay, so the next part we're gonna be sewing is this side seam down the leg. You're gonna lay out your pants, right sides together again, and then you're gonna sew right down this line on both sides. So obviously mine looks a little crappy, so lay yours out nicer, but you're just gonna do a straight stitch right down there, leaving the 1-inch seam allowance. This is just an example of how forgiving this project is, because look, my pants, I don't know what happened, but they're not lining up at all. But in the end, it's gonna work out. So if you have something like this going on with yours, don't worry, because we'll just hem it, and we left a lot of seam allowance, so there's a lot of room for forgiveness. At this point, if you want to add a pocket, I would go and watch another video, because I did add a pocket on mine, but I don't know how. I just tried it out, and that's how it turned out for me, so I would watch a video. I don't know if I'm experienced enough to tell you guys how to do a pocket. So this is where your pants should be at now. So they should be looking like pants, but with a huge drop crotch. Now we're sewing the crotch, and let me show you guys how we're gonna be sewing that. We're sewing the inside part of the pants. I start up at the crotch, and then I go down this leg, and then I come back up here, and I start at the crotch again and go down this leg, just so that way the crotch is even, because the end of the legs are a lot easier to hem to make even, but the crotch, I would assume would be hard to take in. This is only my 2nd time making linen pants. So start here, straight stitch down, once again leaving the seam allowance, straight stitch down. And then comes the fun part. So the next step is going to be putting the elastic in, and the final step will be hemming. That's the order, that's the next 2 things we have to do. So this is where my pants are looking. Basically do 2 rollovers with your pants, and that's where they're gonna sit. So this is where my pants will be sitting at about. Obviously the rollovers are gonna go toward inside. Okay, so once you've tried on your pants and you feel good about how they're looking, you're going to put them back right side out, and we're gonna start on the elastic. Okay, so I know I said pinning is a waste of time earlier, but it's actually important for this step. Open the seam, it'll look nicer if you do that. And then you're gonna do 1-inch rollover, because that's the size of the elastic we're using. And then you're gonna do 1 more inch rollover, since we have the space. Obviously, if we didn't do as big of a seam allowance as we did, then we wouldn't be able to do this much of a rollover, but we've got plenty. So you're gonna do that all the way around. So once you have done almost all the way, you're gonna leave that much like 3 inches, 5 inches, I don't know. So you're just gonna stitch all the way to there. So there should be like a little hole that you could stick your elastic in to go around. So now for this part, you're gonna get your elastic and you're gonna pull it around your waist or wherever, like if your pants are here, do it here. If your pants are gonna be here. So I think mine are hopefully gonna land about right there. And then you're going to put it all the way around your waist where it's at like a comfortable, and then you take 2 inches from that so that it's stretchy and tight, and then that's where you cut it. It's like your waist measurement minus 2 inches. Basically. Okay, and now this is where the paper clip comes in. So you're gonna put your paper clip on the end of your elastic, and this way it's just easier to feed it through. At the spot where we left the hole, you're just going to stick your elastic in there and just slowly feed it through. It takes a while, but it's not too bad. Okay, so now that I fed the elastic through both sides, I'm just gonna overlap it, put my foot down, and then do this. And bear with me, I'm not very good at this. Okay, so now that that's like adjusted in there, we need to finish up this little hole. So we are going to pull the pants and then basically just pull it to keep it tight. You just close it up like that. Now it's time to try on our pants and see how they're looking. Yeah, they turned out pretty good. So now we just have to hem the bottom up. Okay, so I just double rolled my pants and then I'm just gonna hem right along this bottom area right here, and I'm gonna wanna make sure that I'm getting into my hem. So these are the final linen pants. I hope you guys like how they turned out. I think they're super cute and super easy, and I think that they're perfect for summer. And it's so awesome that you can make them with just a sheet. Like mine are cotton, obviously they're not linen, but yeah, I hope this tutorial was helpful, and I hope you guys all like how your pants turned out.